In the late 16th century, on the shores of a distant and untamed land, a group of English settlers carved out a fragile existence on Roanoke Island. The Roanoke colony, known now as the Lost Colony, was meant to be a beacon of hope, a foothold for the English crown in the New World. Yet when Governor John White returned in 1590, after a 3-year absence, he found nothing but silence. The fort was deserted, homes stood empty, and not a single trace of the 100 or so men, women, and children remained. All that was left was a single word carved into a post: Croatoan. Theories abound as to what happened to these colonists. Some say they integrated with the Croatoan tribe or other local Native American groups, seeking refuge in a time of famine and drought. Others whisper of massacres at the hands of hostile tribes, or of desperate journeys that ended in death. Some historians even suggest that they tried to flee back to England, only to be lost at sea. But while these explanations fill the pages of history books, they do not satisfy the darker imaginations of those who see Roanoke as a place shrouded in something far more sinister, a place where the veil between the natural and supernatural was worn thin. The accepted theories offer a veneer of logic, but beneath them lurks a darker current, a tangled web of folklore and fear that refuses to let the mystery rest in peace. For Roanoke is not merely a tale of colonial hardship and failure. It is a haunted story, whispered through the pines, woven into the fog that rolls in from the Atlantic and carried on the winds that howl across the deserted island. The carvings and the eerie quiet were not just signs of abandonment. They were harbingers, warnings of something unspeakable that took hold of the settlers and spirited them away. Some say the word Croatoan carved into the post was not a message of relocation, but a mark of doom. According to legend, the Croatoan tribe wielded a powerful curse, one that bound the land and all who dared trespass upon it. The colonists, in their arrogance, believed they could claim the New World as their own, but they did not realize that this land already had its keepers, spirits that were ancient and vengeful. The island, it is said, was a sacred place, and the colonists' presence was a blasphemy. The curse of the Croatoan did not just kill them, it erased them. The settlers were swallowed by the island itself, their bones buried deep in the earth, their voices lost to the howling wind. Some locals claim that the curse extends beyond Roanoke's shores, following those who dared to invoke it. Edgar Allan Poe, the tormented poet, vanished shortly before his death, only to be found muttering the word Croatoan. In other instances throughout history, ships lost at sea, men disappearing without a trace, have been linked back to this cursed word. It is as though the curse still roams, claiming lives and rewriting fates. To others, the settlers' fate was even more horrific. Legends of the Wendigo, a creature of insatiable hunger, tell of a monstrous spirit that prowls the forests of the north, preying on the desperate and the lost. In the dire days of winter, when food was scarce and hope was scarcer, the Wendigo's call was said to echo through the pines. Some whispered that the colonists, driven mad by starvation, turned to one another for sustenance. But this was no mere act of cannibalism, it was an invitation. By eating the flesh of their own, they invited the Wendigo into their hearts, their minds, and their souls. One by one, the settlers were consumed, not just by each other, but by the spirit that lurked in the dark, whispering promises of life in exchange for unspeakable acts. Those who surrendered to the Wendigo's hunger were not merely killed, they were transformed, losing their humanity, becoming things that prowled the night, always searching for more. And when the colony vanished, it wasn't the people that disappeared, but something far worse that was set loose, forever roaming the forests and shadows of the land. Roanoke was not a place of peace, it was a burial ground, haunted by restless spirits long before the English arrived. Local tribes spoke of the island's ghosts, shadowy figures that wandered the woods at dusk and vanished with the dawn. These were not the souls of warriors or chieftains, but of something much older, tied to the ancient rituals that had been practiced on the island for generations. The colonists, ignorant of these old spirits, built their homes on sacred ground, unknowingly disturbing forces they could not understand. It is said that at night, the settlers heard whispers in languages they did not know. felt cold hands brush their faces as they slept, and saw shadowy figures at the edges of their vision. As the days passed, children went missing. Men were driven mad by unseen terrors, and even the bravest souls found themselves paralyzed with fear. One by one, the colonists vanished, spirited away by the ghosts of Roanoke, never to be seen again. Some believe that these spirits are still there, trapped in a cycle of torment, forever reliving their deaths, forever longing for company. Not all settlers were saints. Among the colonists were those who dabbled in dark arts, forbidden practices brought over from the old country. When the crops failed and sickness spread, some say a secret pact was made with a powerful witch, a pact that promised safety in exchange for loyalty. But the price of such protection was steep, and the witch's magic, twisted and malevolent, turned on the settlers themselves. Under the cover of darkness, she wove spells that bound the colonists to the island, trapping them in a web of deceit and illusion. The settlers believed they were safe, even as their numbers dwindled, but in truth they were being led like lambs to the slaughter. By the time the witch's work was done, there was nothing left but empty houses and the faintest echoes of laughter that died on the breeze. The witch's magic lingers still, a dark shadow over Roanoke, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to set foot on her cursed land. And then there are those who believe that the colonists were taken by beings not of this world, creatures that descended from the stars to claim them. Stories tell of strange lights in the sky and of settlers who vanished into thin air, plucked from their homes by unseen forces. Some say the colonists were part of a grand experiment, tested and then discarded by their otherworldly captors. The word Croatoan was not a name but a signal, a mark left behind by these visitors to show that they had been there and that they would return. For those who dare to look closely, the signs of extraterrestrial interference are everywhere: unexplained lights, strange symbols, and eerie encounters that defy explanation. Even today, Roanoke Island is a hotbed of sightings and strange occurrences, as though the presence of these beings has never truly left. Above all the whispers of curses, spirits, and monsters lies a darker, more ancient truth, a truth that echoes with the weight of Scripture. For some, Roanoke was not merely the victim of misfortune, but of divine judgment, a punishment meted out by the Almighty Himself. The settlers, in their hubris, believed they could conquer the land and bend it to their will, ignoring the old admonitions of humility and faith. In the book of Leviticus, God warns of curses that would befall those who turned from His ways: desolation, fear, and exile. It is said that the land itself rejected the colonists, swallowing them up as the earth opened beneath their feet. They were cast into the outer darkness, where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth, condemned not by men but by the very forces of heaven. The empty colony stands as a monument to their pride, a chilling reminder that in the end, the wages of sin is death, and those who forget God will be forgotten themselves. Roanoke is more than a missing colony. It is a testament to the unseen battles waged in the heart of man, where curses are born and spirits still roam. It is a place where darkness lingers at the edge of every path, where the past is never truly buried, and where the whisper of the supernatural can still be heard if you dare to listen.